Amazing, isn't it? Just take a tiny seed, no bigger than this, put it in the ground, and in a few weeks you'll have a plant filled with beautiful tomatoes. Just leave it to nature. Well, just leave it to scientists to try to beat nature at its own game. That's tonight's Eye on America, reported by correspondent Bob Fall.
Don't be fooled. This may look like an ordinary tomato, but it could also be the future.
We have turned off a gene in the tomato that causes it to rot.
Redder and juicier, they are the product of genetic engineering, when genes from one species, animal or vegetable, are inserted into another.
Biotech is going to be able to deliver foods which are as safe or safer than those currently available. They're going to provide foods which are tastier and more nutritious.
The trouble is those wonder tomatoes don't taste very good yet. And, say critics,
they are underestimating the risks of the technology, and if they continue to do that, I think that they put all of us at risk.
Here's what alarms them. Pigs injected with human genes are nearly blind. Mice with human genes are twice as big as any mice in history.
The large one contains the growth hormone gene.
When scientists put flounder genes into tomatoes or firefly genes into corn, as they're doing now in labs, the result could be something that Mother Nature never imagined.
You could put in a gene that you expect to do one thing, and it could do something else, elevating the levels of toxic substances.
We're talking here about a technology more dramatic than any in history that can remake the genetic blueprint of life itself.
Sometimes with horrifying results. When L-tryptophan, a derivative of milk, was genetically engineered several years ago by a Japanese company, scores of Americans who used it died or were injured.
I sit before you helpless, broke, alone, and in unyielding, relentless pain.
The biotech industry argues that the L-tryptophan disaster was caused not by genetic engineering, but by faulty manufacturing, and insists that what is being done in labs like this is no different than traditional crossbreeding, which produce sweet corn and pink grapefruits.
Genetic modification in our food supply is nothing new. What we're changing is the way that it can be done.
That is also the position of the U.S. government, which says if genetically engineered foods are different, they will be regulated. But if they aren't, they won't be.
In many cases, the change in the composition of the food produced through one of these new techniques is insignificant, or there's no change at all.
This is the most flagrant violation of public trust I've ever seen on a consumer policy. Genetically engineered foods are radically different than other foods, and they have to be treated in a special category.
Even though genetically engineered foods are not on the market yet, the campaign against them has spread to some of America's finest restaurants. More than 1,000 chefs, like Jimmy Schmidt in Detroit, have vowed not to use them.
My principal concern is I don't know if there's any type of genes that have been spliced in that could cause allergic reactions to my customers, who I'm supposed to be protecting.
The tomatoes continue on their rampage of wanton destruction, burning, pillaging, raping.
No, the chefs are not expecting the new tomatoes to do that, but they are saying that if scientists put genes from a virus into a squash or chicken genes into potatoes to make them disease-resistant, consumers should at least be warned through labeling. That, says the industry, would cost a fortune and is unnecessary.
We're not, in fact, adding chemical substances or some synthetic substances which the consumer needs to know about.
It may be benign, but it may turn out to be toxic or mutagenic. It's ecological roulette, and our position is better safe than sorry.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
But it is happening more and more, leaving crops which resist disease, tomatoes ripe year-round, and critics who worry that we're playing with fire. This is Bob Fall in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for Eye on America.
That's the CBS Evening News. I'm Ed Bradley, sitting in tonight for Dan Rather, who'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you again Sunday night on 60 Minutes. Good night.